Hello and welcome to Mark's Woodworking Challenges. I'm Mark, your host, and today we have a new video about a power tool technique. This video is the third in a three-part series on power tool techniques. As I've said before, we're not going to do a huge number of power tool techniques on this channel, but here's another one. Today's video is about my new router table fence. Now, as earlier, a couple months ago, I did a video on my new table saw sled, and recently I did a video on my new drill press table. And that's why this is the third in a three-part series. This is a continuation of that effort that I made to renew all of my power tool fixtures. Basically, last year I was trying to set up my drill press table to make a perfectly perpendicular cut, and it took me about a half an hour, and it should have taken me only 5 minutes at the most, if that. And I realized, wow, all this stuff is crap. So I made a New Year's resolution that I was going to make new fixtures for all of these power tools. Okay, so what we've got here is we've got a router table, which is a cast iron top in the wing of the table saw. The new router table fence attaches to the table saw fence so that you can obviously use the table saw fence to move it back and forth as easily. And so what we'll do now is take a little bit closer look at how I built this thing and what I think makes it a good design. So here we go. Okay. Now for the details of the new router table fence. Here we see the table saw fence. It's a homemade T-type table saw fence. Why homemade? Well, this is a $300 saw at best, and it just didn't feel right to put a $500 plus fence on it, so the fence would be worth twice as much as the table saw. So I decided to make my own, and frankly, I'm pretty happy with it. It turned out very well. But enough about that. This is not what this video is about. This video is about the new router table fence. So it's attached. Let's move a little closer. Attached to the table saw fence in two spots. It's got this kind of, basically there's a construction, whereas this is plywood that attaches to the fence. Because I needed to get all these knobs in here, I put these standoffs and then it attached to this piece of plywood here, Baltic birch. Because you need to get all the knobs in here. Here's the 2 points where it attaches to the table saw fence, and then you see 3 knobs on this side and 3 knobs on that side. They allow these 2 panels here to move back and forth. So you loosen the knobs and the panel slides out or slides in or centers on the router bit. And so we're going to change orientations here and look at that a little bit closer. Okay, so this router table fence is probably the simplest of the 3 new fixtures that I made. Basically, this half and this half move back and forth. We'll demonstrate that. So you can just loosen the 3 knobs, pull it out, push it back in, what that allows you to do is, with a small bit, you can have these close together so that the bit is more or less can fit into this little cutout right here. If you've got a really large bit, and I don't use really large bits very often, but if I did, you would pull this out on this side and pull it out on this side in order to fit the large bit into that space. Behind here, which we probably won't be able to see very well, but there's T-track behind here that fasten to the knobs on the other side so that you can continuously change the placement of these bits. So basically that's it. You can put them close together for a small bit. You can make sure that the two sides are centered on the bit. You can pull them apart for a large bit, and you can put a shield up here if you so desire. You can put stops. As I said in one of the previous videos, one of the nice things about making new fixtures is that I've been able to standardize this distance so that the same set of stops works with all the new fixtures, the table saw, the drill press, and the router table fence. Now, one thing that people often have on their router table fences is a dust collection port back here. What I have instead is a box built around the router underneath. Let's just, there it is. It has this is it, box around the router with a dust port attached to the dust collector. And when the dust collector is on, there is a substantial airflow going through this hole in the router table. I have no need for an extra port on top. It really does an excellent job of clearing dust and chips. On the T-slot, on the T-type table saw fence, normally it's fastened only at that end. But in the case of the router table, the fence, the force is all against the fence, unlike when you're using the table saw, where most of the force is that way and only a little bit is against the fence. So when I use this router table fence, I clamp the end of the T-fence to make sure it doesn't move anywhere and to handle all the force going in that direction. So it's very, very sturdy and stays put when I use it. Okay, let's wrap it up. This is my new router table fence. It's the third Powertool fixture that I needed to upgrade, badly needed to upgrade. As I described at the beginning, it was part 3 in a series of videos describing how I have actually accomplished my New Year's resolution. At this point, someone should check to see if the Earth is still in its orbit, because I don't know that I've ever actually successfully completed a New Year's resolution, so this would be a first. At any rate, all kidding aside, it was a badly needed item. It was a design that I sort of made up the design. I didn't really get it out of any reference, but it seemed to turn out pretty well. I've been using it. It works really well, and so I'm happy with it. And at the end of the day, that's really all that counts, isn't it? Okay then. I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you have, please consider subscribing. Hit the like button if so desired. And if you have any questions or comments, please leave them below, and I'll try to get to as many as I can. At least I would definitely get to all the ones where a comment is required. So, without further ado, we'll see you next time on Mark's Woodworking Challenges.